World, Polt or HyuN?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is all on the line here at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. We're really excited to be bringing you these matches to see who's going to be crowned the actual Fight Club champion. Will it be Quantix HyuN or will it be Polt? Polt, of course, the current reigning champion, having defeated Creator Prime and Heart of the Swarm, but HyuN, with his 14-1 run, is, well, perhaps...
I honestly believe that that is the most impressive feat in online events in Wings of Liberty, period.
I completely agree.
I mean, 14 consecutive
against
opponents.
some of the best players.
That's right. And it wasn't just, non-mirror matchups. We were throwing players against, like, at the time, it was the reigning GSL champion Life against him. It was a ridiculous, went to the full game 9, but HyuN was able to overcome. This guy proved himself over and over again, not just in that, but also in offline defense, too. The guy's a runner-up in the GSL World, or in the GSL Code S. But on the flip side of things, you've got Polt. And this guy's a master at offline defense. He's a GSL champion.
Yeah, Polt has a very impressive record. If we actually want to pull up his stats here and take a look at him, guys, I mean, it'll absolutely blow you away. Across all his matchups, over 60%. Versus Zurich, it's right in the middle of the road. He's at 65. He takes home more than half of his games as victory, saying a lot right there. And, well, he is facing off against HyuN, but a lot of people actually, we saw the poll switch. We've been watching that live report thread, you and I, Kev.
Yes.
And initially it was favoring HyuN, but now we're seeing Polt actually take a huge swing back.
Well, Polt is not necessarily maybe in headlines. He has been doing some high-profile Heart of the Swarm matches, both in the King of the Beta tournament and also for MLG qualification. Yep. So, obviously, he's been playing his ass off in Heart of the Swarm. He's been playing incredibly well. In our own tournaments, he took down Creator Prime with some very creative strategies. On top of that, some awesome Reaper expands that ended up moving into really cool drop play, and then into the familiar bio play that we know Polt is great at. So.
Yeah. And, that's going to serve as a confidence booster here, even though he is facing off in Wings of Liberty. And you've also got to factor in, of course, the fact that Polt is from Austin. Yeah. And so he barely, I mean, you were talking about earlier, you actually know the specifics of it. He got off a bus or something, and
yes.
His school bus dropped him off the event center? How did that work?
That's right. He was actually coming after class at University of Texas on his way over here. But, guys, we have a countdown starting. That means we're ready for game number 1 here. This is a best of 11, $8,000 in prizes. We're going to find the real Fight Club champion. Let's get into game number 1.
DF Atlas.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on DF Atlas, and down to the bottom right-hand corner, the man, the winningest Fight Club member of all time with 14 wins in a row from Quantic Gaming, he is... HyuN! And his opponent up here on the top left-hand corner, hometown hero of Austin, Texas, reigning Fight Club champion, he is... Polt!
Kevin, we need to start this off, actually, by mentioning the fact that these guys actually just played each other. They were warming up.
Yeah, they queued up on ladder.
And they encountered each other on ladder.
That's right.
Because, there's not really anybody playing on ladder right now as good as these two players.
Yeah, that's right. You kind of have probably the 2 best players that are actually on ladder right now. They're like, oh, we'll go at the same time. I wonder what'll happen. Oh, wait, we're going to hit each other.
Well, let's actually talk about what happened as the builds do look pretty standard here. No crazy, proxy racks or fast pool or anything. So, a lot of people were speculating whether this would be a quick throw one way or the other. Guys, I just want to say, what we'll call game number 0 between these two players, it turned into the most insane base race where actually Kevin and I are standing over HyuN's shoulder watching it, and you actually were saying that Polt was going to win it, and I was saying HyuN was going to win it. It was an insanely close game. And I am really, really pumped to see what happens now in this best of 11. I mean, this could be really, really close. And after watching that, I actually think it will go to game 11.
Yes. It could very well. I would not be surprised in the slides, and I'm kind of rooting for that, I have to say. It's our last Wings of Liberty broadcast. So, and to let everyone out there know as well, so this is an $8,000 event, $5,000 to the first place, $3,000 to second, and we have a 6-map pool for a best of 11. I'm sure some people are like, wait a second. So what's going to happen is we're going to go through our first 6 maps. If we have more games after that, we'll actually reset the map pool and go through it again. Going to be loser picks format the entire way. Our map pool for the event, though, has substantially changed for Wings of Liberty. You're going to see some familiar, even Heart of the Swarm maps on here, as we have Akalon Flats, DF Atlas, and Icarus in the mix, in addition to our good old-fashioned favorites of Cloud Kingdom, Ohana, and Daybreak.
You you call them Heart of the Swarm maps because they were used by GSL initially, but
oh, that's true, yeah.
But actually, Tim Frazier, Robin, our caster back at home, he did pick out these maps specifically for Wings of Liberty, which shows that they're well suited for this. So here we go. Polt has started off. He's actually gotten a gas, significantly different, by the way, than his opening in the match that he played earlier versus HyuN when they were warming up. He did open gasless into quick 3 command centers, went for stim, and the game proceeded from there. HyuN, on the other hand, he has gotten his 15 hatch completed, and his first set of Zerglings are on the way. He's working his way to that 100 gas.
Right, but of course not going for any sort of 4-queen build to start things off right for that gas, going to prioritize speed possibly. We were talking about this quite a bit, obviously, during rehearsals, before things, that both these players can be aggressive at the right time. Polt is the one that's known for it maybe a little bit more because he's not afraid to 2-racks you in a long best of, and this is a best of 11, so we're going to see it at some point. It's just a matter of when. He's also not afraid to do some sort of large 2-base strategies. But HyuN, on the other hand, and I mentioned this before, can throw those Roach strategies at you at just the right time, and that's what we're seeing here. Roach Warren 2-base. Let's see how high he's going to rise his supply cap here in a second if he starts like 4 or 5 Overlords and just plans to do a big all-in. HyuN also does have a really cool transition off of about an 8 or 9 Roach push and then move up into 3-base after that. It all depends on whether he starts a 3rd Queen and a couple drones with his attack.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things do proceed, but you know, a lot of newer spectators here at South by Southwest. Definitely a very varied audience, as this is the interactive portion. So, you know, explaining the Roaches a little bit, basically, HyuN has invested some of his early game economy into making units that he's going to be pushing out across the map with in all likelihood. We should see those Roaches here. Actually, with 200 gas, there's not a likelihood. There's a definite. We should see 8, maybe 9 Roaches started up by HyuN, 5 already on the way. And he's going to do this. He's going to try to deny, you know, the ability of Polt to go for any super greedy play. Players want to play really greedy. You want to get a huge economy and invest in the late game. By HyuN making these early Roaches and pushing out with them, he's going to make it that if Polt plays too greedy, he'll just die. And so it makes it that Polt does have to kind of play a little bit of middle ground right now, and HyuN takes control of the map and makes it scary for Polt to move out of his base.
Yeah, you know, talking about that middle ground, HyuN's not really playing that, actually. He's Polt obviously is, but HyuN, man, he is well poised to do some serious damage here in the very beginning of this game. 2 more Roaches on the way to join the 10 that are already on the map. Oh, the Hellions see this in the middle now. Let's see what Polt does in response. He's already moving up to his 2nd factory. He's starting Concussive Shell as soon as he sees those Roaches, getting out a couple of Marauders to be able to deal with those units. But this is a very large Roach push, and it's going to be very difficult to deal with.
It is. There are quite a number of Roaches with this. Actually, he's made 12, which is a little bit more than I think Polt is going to expect here. He has started up those Marauders. First one's about to get out, but the bunker is in danger. Roaches target firing it down. The SCVs doing what they can to repair. Some of the Roaches are focusing on the SCVs, stopping them from being able to repair that bunker, but the bunker still stands. Marauder getting in a lot of damage, but the bunker falls. Polt's going to be in a lot of trouble now. He has to find a way to hold. There's still 8 Roaches remaining.
He most certainly is, but he's had some really good control during all of this. He kept that bunker alive for a decent period of time, kept his SCVs alive a little bit longer than I expected, even got use out of the mules that were sitting over at the natural. And Polt, his goal right now is to literally hold at all costs. He's got 3 command centers behind this to replenish his economy. He doesn't care about workers right now. He needs to hold this off and not take infrastructure damage.
This is a lot of damage, though, out of HyuN. You know, he managed to even pick off one of the Marauders. Polt unable to micro it up the ramp because the ramp was actually full of units. It was just full of Hellions, SCVs. So he wasn't able to save that Marauder. Now he's down to just 2, where he could have 3. And, I mean, he's going to be able to push these back now. The Concussive Shells is done. You can actually see that Roach is slowed. He's doing a good job with these Hellions. I think Polt has stabilized, but he definitely lost a lot.
Yes, and he's still exhibited some pretty good control here, pulling back these Hellions one by one. HyuN answering right back with being able to target down a couple of those at big push. And Polt has stabilized, so good on him. He's now got 2 factories up, and we'll see if that's going to be telltale to his build later on. No, actually, he has his 2 factories. He'll eventually use those for late game double siege tank production, but for now, double engineering base, and we're going to see good old-fashioned Polt bio.
Look at this attention to detail out of HyuN. He realizes, you only have 1 Marine. I can bring my Overlord over and be able to see up your ramp. Because you won't be able to kill it in time. And in fact, he does, well, it actually can't seem to hide on the high ground here, so these Marines will manage to take it out. I think HyuN mistakenly believed this was a high ground, and there goes that Overlord.
All right, so Hellions charging the way across the map. HyuN did expand to his 3rd, but this was only after taking his layer tech. So he's got a lot more Roaches building up and going for Roach speed. Sometimes we do see this out of players. They'll go for Roach attack part 2 whenever a Terran player's like, okay, I held that. Now it's a macro race. We'll go from here. But the issue is that HyuN didn't really do all that much economic damage. He killed a couple of supply depots at the front. He certainly limited his opponent's ability to produce things for a while, but maybe not quite the damage he was looking for.
You know, he did get Polt down to 27 workers, but I agree, Kevin, because Polt has that 3rd base. that third command center is going to let him pump out lots of SCVs and really catch up in that regard. And now HyuN, you know, he's going for glial reconstitution and burrow. And this does, this is going to bode fairly well against the earlier stages of what we're seeing for Polt. You know, he is going 2 factory siege tank.
Right.
But in this situation, Polt's following it up with bio. And this is going to make, after, you know, a couple of minutes go by here, things are going to get more difficult for HyuN unless he can make a seamless transition into Zergling Baneling, because roaches do not fare well versus a biological composition out of Terran.
No, especially the kind of composition the Polt has right now. You already mentioned the double siege tanks. We already see Marauders being produced once again in relatively large force. So Polt is going to have an extremely strong army against this, and Stim is going to be finished by the time this gets done. It's only 15 seconds away.
All right, well, here's HyuN going for his big attack. You can see the siege tanks making it to the top of the high ground here. That's going to make a world of a difference. They do need to siege up, though. They could be doing way more damage.
They don't have it. Siege mode isn't done for another 40 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So they're only single target DPS at the moment. Stim is now finished, so these Marauders could stim up and start doing a little bit more damage. Polt is actually going to take some significant damage here. This is a really smart decision from HyuN, and the Roaches are actually going to get to these tanks before siege mode is finished.
This is huge for HyuN. He's getting in a ton of economic damage right now. Killed a number of SCVs. He actually killed 14 SCVs. He's killed 2 siege tanks. He almost gets a third. Burrows the Roach. That was cute. We'll see if the scan has to go down, but you're right.
Yeah, I still like Polt's position here because Polt was able to stabilize again at pretty much all costs. He's got 3 orbital commands now, and there's a few more Roaches that are on the map, yes, but now siege mode is done. Polt can actually watch this from the high ground, sitting off to the side with his siege tank. He's actually got a pretty good position there. He'll lose a few more workers on the way out, but HyuN has done nothing but build Roaches. He only has Roaches. Those are not cost effective against what Polt has at the moment.
HyuN seems to think that he may be able to take this here, though, and I do think that's one of his better bets because back at home, he hasn't even started stim. Or, excuse me, not stim, speed.
Yeah.
So his Zerglings, he can't even opt to go for that composition, you know, that's good against what Polt's got. It's going to be a full 2 minutes before that speed would complete. So he actually is throwing down double Evo chamber. So it is entirely possible we could see that transition. Regardless, for now, he's got tunneling claws on the way, and he is going to be able to move while burrowed. So he's looking to catch Polt's army out of position and by surprise.
Okay, so Polt does have a starport on the way. Eventually he'll be able to get some medevacs up, and then he can start using that stim a little bit more liberally. But there's a lot of supply that's tied up in Roaches at the moment. A ton, actually. Let's go ahead and count them. That's 27 that are sitting right there on the map. 54 supply. So take those out of the equation because those are pretty easily neutralized by the bio units and the siege tanks that Polt has on the map. And you suddenly see that HyuN's position isn't as strong as he'd like it to be. Now, I do want to mention, though, HyuN does have Tumbling Claws and Barrier to finish up. He can do some really tricky burrowing play, but Polt looks like he's prepared for that with some missile turrets.
Yeah, he did a good job burrowing a Roach under the third base of Polt so that Polt actually was unable to land that command center for some time. But now we see that HyuN is going to be opting for missile attacks. And so he is going to be investing very heavily into these Roaches. And in the later stages of the game, that is going to be excellent for Polt, but he needs to hold on right now, and that's going to be very difficult to do. You can see as he leads the army away with this single Roach, he's got the rest of his army burrowed out the front and will likely be trying to bring those up the ramp at some point. You know, that missile turret is still there, though.
Yeah, I mean, Polt's got incredible coverage pretty much everywhere at the moment. I don't mean to sound too biased to him. I mean, HyuN being, well, I will admit, my favorite player of all time. But you know, Polt's in a really, really good spot. He's got a tech advantage. He's got a decent army advantage. Yes, he's down by 50 supply, but again, that doesn't matter at this stage because there's no way that that 50 supply of Roaches is going to be able to break up the ramp. We need to see a big change here from HyuN. It's coming in the form of Hydralisks at the moment with 1-1 upgrades, 1-1 including Zerg missile attacks.
Making a lot of sense there. You want that DPS to be able to mix in with your Roaches. You know, Roaches are a very tanky unit. They're a lot like cockroaches, just hard to kill. But although, you know, cockroaches are scary, Roaches aren't so scary. They actually do very little damage, only 12 damage a shot without any upgrades, though +1's about to finish, so that will change to 14. But this is going to be a big dual-pronged attack. You can see Roaches down in the bottom left for HyuN, as well as in the top right. He's going to come in from every angle here, but there are a ton of siege tanks, Kevin, and I just don't know if HyuN can actually break this.
It's going to be very difficult. We'll certainly see if he tries to, or if this is more, part of this seemed like to me a bit of a surprise force too, because he can kind of keep it in a couple of different locations, then whenever Polt walks his army over it, he can try and pop up and catch some unsieged tanks and then begin the tech transition afterwards. But Roach Hydra, especially in Wings of Liberty without any sort of speed upgrade for those Hydras, is going to be very difficult. But we do see those familiar HyuN, as he's actually being dropped at the moment, those familiar HyuN Infestors on the way.
Yeah, double drop. One in the top right, one in the bottom left. The one in the bottom left is going to go uncontested as well. Polt's going to get in a little bit of damage here, kills a queen, and escapes with that medevac in the top right. The one in the bottom left going to force off all the workers. Roaches are arriving now. Will he get the queen? It doesn't quite look like it, but he'll just shuttle those units directly into the main, and he has absolutely brought HyuN's army home.
Yeah, so he did bring the army home at the moment, and HyuN's actually at the point now because he's only making 2 Infestors. Yes, he wants to switch up in tech and such, but he does need to start freeing up a bit of supply, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him just start doing things like, poking around with little groups of burrowed roaches and just trying to pick off workers and such.
This is exactly what Polt needed, Kevin. I mean, Polt needed to make it to the late game. He needed to make it to the point where HyuN's roaches were not going to be effective anymore because there's tons of bio. Now we've got an engagement in the middle of the map as roaches. There are a lot of roaches, and Polt will have to fall back. Remember, he needs those siege tanks. He cannot engage without them, but with them, he will absolutely stomp this army out of HyuN. So HyuN has to come up with some creative financing to make the tech transition that he has to here. It looks like he's actually going to gun his way to Broodlords, and that's how he's going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually had success with that quite a few times in the past in Wings of Liberty. That's not too big of a shock, but I certainly like seeing it. Hive is already done. He could also lay down that Ultralisk Cavern at some point, although he's not really working off of the amount of gas that I would expect holding these 4th and 5th bases for quite a while.
All right, well, Polt is pushing. The clock is on him. He's going to be getting some very nice volleys. I'm super surprised that HyuN is engaging this so hard right now. He just dropped 60 supply in a heartbeat. Polt is now ahead by a little over 20 supply, and he's going to be engaging once again because the Marines are here without the siege tanks, but there's still too much. Polt's going to chase him, and now Polt can make that push that he needs to before Broodlords are on the field. HyuN is in a lot of trouble. He needs to survive until Broodlords, and that's still another 2 or 3 minutes, and there might not be that much time left in this game.
Right, we knew something like that was going to be forced, though, right? I mean, we were sitting around saying, okay, well, roaches, he's got about 65 supply of them now. They're dead weights. He has to be able to get rid of those. But the problem is, because this all happened before that Broodlord transition that you were talking about, he actually has to remax on roaches right now, and those are not going to be cost-effective against what Polt has. Polt also has a 4th base finished up behind this, and he wrecks this army at the front. The Infestors still getting in some pretty good damage, yes, but Polt's reinforcements are just a bit too much.
Yeah, there aren't that many bio units reinforcing, though. Most of the reinforcements, I mean, there's 6 siege tanks here, and there are just 9 Marines. There's 9 Marines, 2 Marauders, and 6 siege tanks. So Polt, he's moving out with another contingent of units from his main, and when those arrive, Polt's going to be in a much better position. He was a little bit on the edge for a second there, but now he's looking pretty good. 60 Lings on the way, but they have no upgrades.
Yeah, it looks like that drop got picked off to the side, so small consolation for HyuN at the very least. A ton of Lings up, as you mentioned before, but speed is, it's less than 20 seconds away, so it's not going to be that far along, but Polt can get in some damage before that actually happens. Finally, 6 Corruptors coming up. We're going to start to see Greater Spire finishing in about 75 seconds or so, but still, Broodlords take, 34 seconds after that? So it's still a while before we see any sort of big threat to Polt's army on the field.
Yeah, but it is a clock. It is a clock that does exist. And Polt,
you're right.
Has to get some damage in before that clock expires because he is not making Vikings at home. And Vikings, guys, are the counter to Broodlords. It's what you need, simply put. In fact, with all the Marauders he's got in his composition, his Marines don't stand a chance versus any reasonable number of Broodlords with the Infestors backing them up. So this is looking a little bit dangerous for HyuN for the moment, but if he can survive, he may be able to run away with this.
Yeah, that's right. One thing that Polt has been doing especially well this game, too, that we haven't really pointed out, his upgrades. He was really good about hitting his upgrades at all given point in time, so he's attacking with 3-3 while his opponent was just finishing up 2-2. Great moment to try and get it in strike, and he has so many siege tanks here, this is going to dish out a ton of splash damage, and there's not much that HyuN can do about it. He's filtering those Lings one by one, flanks around from the side as well, tries to pick off a couple of tanks, isn't enough.
This flank was very good out of HyuN, though, and will he be able to clean it up? There's still 3-4 siege tanks remaining in a small group of bio still on the field. 6 Broodlords currently morphing in. Okay, so HyuN can lose this hatchery, actually. He needs to get these drones out of here, though, and evacuate them to this new hatchery in the bottom left. He does have that, but these drones are insanely valuable, and he cannot lose them.
And they are trapped. And oh no, Polt has already seen the Broodlords. He picks off 2 from the high ground.
The Greater Spire.
And he's going to get the 3rd. The Greater Spire goes down. Just a handful of Broodlords left. 3, as a matter of fact. And that is enough to push back a sizable army. And oh my god, takes out the Infestation Pit at the same time. Spire forced to be restarted, and all of a sudden, Polt is once again again in a great position.
Yeah, this is looking pretty dangerous for HyuN at this point, and all the drones get taken out. Only about 7 look like they're going to get away. Marines are actually killing the Broodlords because they have no support. There it is, GG. Game number 1 goes to Polt.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Polt with a dominating performance there from beginning to end. I mean, it looks like HyuN could have gotten in and done some early damage, had a couple of very nice roach strikes available, but Polt took no economic damage.
Yep.
And that's the one thing that, I mean, he did take some,
but he didn't take enough.
Exactly. We said at the very beginning of that game, Polt doesn't care about his workers right now. He's got 3 orbital commands. He can replace those workers in that economy incredibly quickly.
Yeah, especially with how he opted to go for double factory siege tanks. You know, they are not as mineral heavy. You're looking more at needing gas. And so he can afford to sacrifice some of his workers and throw them onto those refineries so he can bring in the extra gas to make the siege tanks and just supply his minerals with mostly mules and some of those remaining SCVs. But beautifully played. Game number 1 out of Polt. And, you know, this series would be at 1-1 then.
Yes.
So it's definitely shown to be back and forth.
All right, guys. So we're going to head to a commercial break here in just a bit. We want to give a big shout out to our sponsors over at Alienware for helping us with this entire event. So we do encourage you guys to check them out on Twitter or Facebook. They're at Alienware on Twitter. They're facebook.com/Alienware there. We're using their machines for the entire event. They've been gracious enough to help us out and put on the swan song of Wings of Liberty for IPL. Or
they
so
really
it seems.
have. And, you know, it's great. A lot of times, we run into computer malfunctions. Not here. Not with Alienware, so I'm loving it.
All right, guys. Well, let's run to that commercial break, and when we get back, it's going to be time for game number 2 with Polt up 1-0 here at IPL Fight Club Heavyweight Championship Edition.